New York City is on lockdown, and I'm going to update you on what life is like here right now. I'm John, and this is not my normal travel content, but what really is normal these days. I'm going to be giving you all an update on some of the new restrictions that have just been implemented in New York City since the last video that I published. I'm also going to show you what it's like to go shopping right now, and as an extra bonus, I've got some footage from Times Square taken today that is really spooky from a friend of mine. First, I want to start with how strange it is to be living through this period in history, especially in New York City, where spaces are limited, especially out in public. Just yesterday, I was walking down my street and I saw a guy turning the corner. He looked at me and then quickly proceeded to cross the street to avoid me. And my first instinct was it something I said? And then I realized, okay, I get it. People are taking extra precautions, nothing personal. I got a lot of comments on my last video about the state of supplies and food in different locations around the world. And the general consensus was that it was very difficult to come by some basic supplies, including toilet paper. So I went to my local CVS just yesterday, and I always check because I'm curious, and again, they had toilet paper in stock. And I'm beginning to realize that this might not be so common around the United States. Guys, update me in the comments about the supply situation wherever you're watching from, because I am curious. But I do have a theory. Now, this is not scientific. This is just me guessing, but Lower Manhattan has a very transient population with a lot of folks who have families all over the area. And because of that, I think a lot of them have left. My building alone, I have hardly seen anybody around the last couple of days. If I were to predict, I would say my building is at 20 to 30% capacity maximum, and that for that reason, it's a lot easier for us, at least in this region of Lower Manhattan, to find supplies, as we have a lot of different supermarkets, a lot of different delis, bodegas, pharmacies all around us. As of this past Sunday evening, the governor of New York State has tightened restrictions all across New York, including New York City, and he's passed something called P.A.U.S.E. Now, P.A.U.S.E. is basically the same as shelter in place that you're seeing amongst other states throughout the country. They just use different wording. My theory behind this is to make it sound a little bit less severe and to cause less panic. All non-essential businesses statewide are now closed. So that little chocolate shop on Bleecker Street I mentioned in the last video, no longer open. All non-essential gatherings of people of any size are now postponed or canceled. People must maintain social distancing in public, try to keep at least 6 feet away from each other, and now businesses have to try to implement the same social distancing inside of their stores, and we're gonna get to a very good example of this, which I actually dealt with for the first time today. They put into place something called Matilda's Law in New York State, and this is for all New York residents 70 or older. They're encouraging them to stay inside unless it's absolutely necessary to leave, to take people's temperatures if they visit, to only go outside by themselves to exercise, and to stay away from visiting households that have groups of people, which I understand because there are a lot of people at risk right now. It seems to me like most of the United States is taking similar precautions to New York City and New York State. Now, the list of essential businesses and what constitutes an essential business is changing depending on what state you're in. For example, in New York, liquor stores are considered essential, which I'm quite happy about because we've got 3 bottles of wine right now, which we're gonna need to finish at some point. Then again, Pennsylvania has not deemed liquor stores essential. I'm curious where you are. Are liquor stores considered an essential item or not? What's your opinion on that? Let's recap my trip to Trader Joe's today, and there are some changes now at New York City supermarkets. The first one I noticed is there's somebody outside counting the amount of people that enter. I believe the maximum allowed in the supermarket is 50. If there are more than 50 people, you have to wait outside until it's deemed safe to enter. Now, when we went today, that was not an issue. Another thing that I noticed was there was now a sign inside Trader Joe's encouraging people not to take more than 2 of any item and not to take more than 1 shopping cart full of supplies or food. I totally support this. I think the hoarding has really gotten out of control, and I feel like every supermarket, every pharmacy needs to implement these kind of restrictions into place right now just to make sure that everybody has access equally to whatever they need. Just like my last trip to Trader Joe's almost a week ago, all the food that we needed was completely in stock. In fact, it looked more stocked than on a normal day. Now, I did discuss my theory about how Lower Manhattan has had a lot of people leave the city, and that could factor into why it has been so much easier for us to go to our supermarket than people in different parts of the United States or around the world. But I am curious if things have normalized a bit where you are. It was a little bit stressful being at the supermarket, I'll admit, because you have to be hyper aware of where everybody else is as they walk near you. Are you giving them enough space? Are you keeping social distancing? And speaking of social distancing, there was something new at Trader Joe's. There was little pieces of tape throughout the store encouraging you if the line went that long to keep 6 feet away from the person in front of you. And I think that most people were doing a really nice job. They were being respectful, giving other shoppers distance, but I would be lying if I told you that this is something that I'm used to. It is taking a lot of adjustment for me to stay away from people, because in New York City, you're used to being packed in tightly with others, so it's still very, very weird. I've got plenty of good news to report though. For one, they had plenty of my favorite 75-cent Pilsner beer in stock at Trader Joe's. Sometimes it's all about those little victories. And also, spring is here and trees are blossoming in New York City, whether we like it or not. So just being outside, even for a few minutes, was actually a nice escape from my tiny apartment. If you guys saw my last video, I used footage from my friend and fellow YouTuber Cash Jordan. He shared some clips from the East Village. Well, today he went to Times Square. I'm gonna put a card to his video above, and the footage, absolutely spooky. All I have to say is wow. For the first time, I think that New York City is beginning to look really creepy without people. Now, keep in mind that Times Square normally is full of tourists. So when there's no tourists around, as nobody's traveling right now, not surprised to see it almost empty. There's not even characters there right now. Remember the article I showed you about how people were angry that Cookie Monster was trying to hug people? No Cookie Monster, no Elmos in sight. Thank God for that, because they don't need to be there right now. I'm gonna play a few more clips for you guys to see this. Again, totally, totally spooky. Other notes for you guys. I am starting to notice a lot more people in Manhattan wearing masks. I'd say at least 1 out of every 4 or 5 people I pass on the street or see in the pharmacy or the supermarket are wearing masks right now. The other thing I want to urge you all is to be careful for scammers out there. I saw some flyers outside that said free N95 masks, and it was advertising a website. Now, I'm not going to share that website right now, but I went and checked and the website was taken down. And I saw on that website's history that they were trying to sell bulk products at a really high price. So unfortunately, there are people out there right now who are trying to take advantage of this situation. Please don't help them out. Everybody is trying to do their part in New York City right now. I feel like there is not a sense of panic. Yes, cases are going up. This is pretty much the epicenter for the United States. And unfortunately, I do think things are going to get worse before they get better. But the people of New York City are so strong that I know they are going to handle this to the best of their abilities. And remember, I'm not encouraging anybody to travel here right now, but this city is going to need you guys really soon when travel does reopen. As for content moving forward on this channel, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult. I am creating a playlist called New York City in Lockdown for all the videos that we're creating during this stretch. I just did a video about things to do at home to keep you from going crazy in a tiny apartment. I thought that was a lot of fun to make. Many of you out there expressed interest in seeing Adriana do a cooking video, something easy to make at home, especially if you're not really into cooking. That is her expertise, trust me, and I'm gonna try to help her out with that. I'm gonna also consider doing some videos about New York City history, maybe some clips of past footage, giving you some ideas of itineraries, or if I missed something, tell me down below in the comments. I'm curious what you're looking for out of this channel. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this little update from New York City. I'm gonna do my best to create as much content as I can right now. Thank you so much for watching, as always. Until next time.